Hello, everyone. We are live from Kentucky Proud Park. We're not live. You're watching this on tape. But Kentucky just got a huge win. I mean, I don't want to go and use hyperbole and say any win of their, 35 regular season wins is like the biggest win of the season. But when you consider kind of the trajectory of where this was going, this was, I think, in my opinion, maybe the biggest win of the season. What do you think?
Yeah, 100% biggest win of the season, especially when you take into account that they really got punked the first game, 11-3. And, I mean, it was – Kentucky scored one run to go up 1-0, and then after that it was just kind of a crapshoot. But then yesterday, UK comes out, punks them yesterday, and then today finishes it off 7-4 win, and they were up 6-0, and it kind of let them get back into it, made it look a little closer than it did, get a little hairy at the end, but they pulled it off, and biggest win of the season.
And it's we'll look at the SEC standings right now, and Kentucky controls their own destiny as of right now, and a one-game lead over Tennessee and Arkansas. And again, like after having a couple tough series losses to Tennessee, then as you said to South Carolina, to bounce back and beat the number 2 team in the country, and to score as many runs. How many runs was it over the last 2 games? 18 runs over a pitching staff like that. What does that say about this team?
It's just they have one of the best offenses in the country. I mean, bar none. I mean, the SEC is the best conference in baseball, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they're the best conference in a lot of things. It just means more.
And UK is hitting 295 in conference play. Ryan Waldschmidt is leading, I don't know if he's leading, but he's top 3 in batting average in the SEC. This team rakes, and the pitching staff has been a little disappointing as of late. But then yesterday, Nyman was nails. Today, Mason Moore was nails. The bullpen was great. Just you can't count these guys out ever.
And we talked to Mason Moore after the game. He said he didn't really have his best stuff today. He still had, I think, 6 strikeouts through 5 innings pitched, so he gets the win. And to not have your best stuff and really have a pretty decent outing. You were texting me, though, and you said, what was it, the 5th inning? Because I'm like, he's cruising, man. He's shut out through 4, and you said 5th inning, things get he gets into some trouble in the 5th. Is that just guys getting that second, sometimes third look at him?
Yeah, and that's when his control kind of gets a little wonky, especially the last 2 games. That's why I really like to see him bounce back today, because he gave up 5 runs to Tennessee. I think all of those came in the 5th inning. I think he held them scoreless until then.
Yes.
And then
I think they scored like their first run with they got couple of infield hits, and then they get a single into the outfield, and that brings the first run on.
That's what we were talking about. It's like it just magically happens. It's not like double. It's like this guy gets on base on a bloop single, and then he walks somebody. But just 2 runs today, and so it was really nice to see him bounce back.
Yeah, and for Kentucky, again, like they go on the road to Xavier, is that right? So they'll go up north for that, and they'll head down south. And again, like this is a much more, I'd say, winnable series as they take on Florida. What do you kind of know about them?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think UK is really set up to end this season. Looking at it at the beginning of the season, you're like, oh, we're ending the season with Florida, who has Jack Caglianone, probably the best player in college baseball, and Vanderbilt. But now you look, Florida hasn't really exceeded the expectations that were set for them this season after they made it all the way to the title game last year. Their pitching staff has not been great, and Vanderbilt is sliding now. I mean, I think they've lost more than they've won recently. So, I mean, the Cats really control their own destiny, and they have Vanderbilt at home to finish out the season. So, I mean, yeah, we could get a scenario. We could get a scenario where UK needs to win 1 of 3 against Vanderbilt to clinch. They've never won the SEC.
Now, in 2007, what did they do? I know that's like the Ryan Strebe, Josh Shelby era.
Oh, I think they've won the SEC once, but they've never won the SEC tournament. And they can put themselves in prime position to get that number 1 spot, get that bye, and set themselves up nicely. And I mean,
yeah, and again, I looked at the crowd today, and Coach Mingione talked about it. Real quick, before we go to the crowd, I sit in a lot of press conferences with this job. And usually I just don't get it. I'm not ever looking forward to the press conference. With Mingione, I thought about it as I was gathering up my gear. I'm like, I get to go to a Mingione press conference. If you don't watch Mingione press conferences on our YouTube channel, you're missing out. Like this, he is just an enjoyable guy to cover. What has that been like? Because you've gotten to cover them for like the last 2 years, and they've been really good.
Yeah, that's probably like the thing I look forward to the most after a win. It's like, what am I going to ask Nick? What am I going to ask him to get him going up, going on, rallying, chuckling? Just like today, I mean, asking him about the uniforms, and he starts getting on that little tangent. I mean,
he's just giving Scoop out all the time too.
He's giving Scoop Minge. I mean, he could bring Mingione back for Motivational Mondays. I mean, this guy we've talked about just the positivity that this guy radiates, and then you've got the other coaches on campus now. I mean, it's like like the cloud is kind of
like a La Familia in the athletic department. But I do think that, like, you just see it. He talked about them switching up dugout stuff. Like, you know, one of the things when you watch that Louisville game on TV, you know, the announcers kept talking about, they kept showing the dugout. They kept showing, you know, when there's a runner at second and what Mingione does and how the culture of this team is very unique from what, you know, I'm used to covering. Like, this is, and I'm not even hating on any other teams that I've covered in the past. I mean, I've covered not Kentucky teams. This is just different, and you can't tell me that doesn't affect the play on the field.
Oh, no, 100%.
The guys have to love playing for them.
100%. And then they've got the pink hats, and now they've got the yellow hats over there, and they're sitting up throwing water on the crowd, and even like, I applaud the program because they're like leaning into it. They're selling posters. They're doing hat giveaways. They've got the baby shark running around the field. I mean, it's just like there's nothing that you can do to have more fun than at a Kentucky baseball game. I mean,
yeah, the culture radiates into the crowd and into the stands. If you haven't been to a game yet, I mean, I don't know what you're waiting on. Maybe you're waiting on the clinching the SEC versus Vanderbilt here in a couple weeks. So that's coming up. And real quick, I guess, you know, we kind of already talked about the crowd, but again, another great crowd again all throughout this week. And I believe that Vanderbilt series would be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? Yeah. So they need to get here Thursday. Because as we look at those standings, I'll put those up right now. The SEC standings, Kentucky again controls their own destiny and a chance to win the SEC, have that one seed, and maybe. I mean, where are they in line for a super regional? What do you think as we'll close this out with that?
I know last week prior to the series, they were the number 5 overall seed. Okay. So, and Arkansas was maybe 2 or 3, so maybe they could swap. And UK is really setting them. I mean, it would
it is the top 4, just to make sure people who don't follow. Okay.
Yeah, or the top 8.
Okay, the top 8. Yeah. Top 8, my fault. Okay, so top 16 get the regional, and then the top 8 get this. There we go. And this is why Daniel's covering baseball for the last 2 years.
So I think barring like a complete collapse, like unless they go 1-5 in their last 6 SEC games or get swept in both series, I mean, it might happen. Like, there's a really, really plausible chance that this might happen, and that's going to be awesome.
And I don't believe that. Have they ever hosted a super regional?
Never hosted a super regional.
So there you go. I mean, big games coming up here at Kentucky Proud Park, maybe even some really big games. But until then, we'll see you next time. And be sure to check. Could you just pitch the show real fast?
Yeah. We record
have the Kentucky Baseball Podcast.
Yeah. We've got 2 weeks now of the Backcat Beat. The first one I kind of just went over everything you need to know. So if this is your first time kind of looking at Kentucky baseball, we've got a primer for you. It's like 25 minutes just talking about guys you need to know, what they've done up to this point. And then last week, me and Derek Terry recapped their loss to Carolina, went over this series, and kind of talked about what they needed to do down the stretch to get that super regional berth. So go check it out.
And that'll do it. We'll see you guys next time. Be sure to subscribe and
Big Suey.
And look forward to Cal Perry doing that soon.